It always comes to this. More nice shit. Morning, guys. Back again to do another tattoo progress update. I split this one up into two because I was, particularly ranty, and there'll be a lot of people who watch the last video and maybe go away a little unsatisfied, and that's just fine. Sometimes I've got a lot to say, and then I don't get to the tattoo progress update because, honest to God, sometimes those are the least important thing going on in my mind. In terms of my overall body of work, the way things are settling in, and the things that I'm learning along the way are always more fascinating to me than the actual picture updates. So, for example, the last session that I showed off with Rick, we had this hand tattoo done, and you can see all the colors are in there, but they're all really faint. And I think it was, it's a bit of the hand skin, but it's also, I don't think Rick sent it as much as he should have. I had a really, really easy heal, and normally my hands don't heal very well. So I think he was trying not to fuck me up, but in order to get this stuff to work, you do have to be willing to, really beat it in there and do the passes. But it got to a place, I think, where it was hard to see what was in the skin and what's on the skin. I've said this before with hand tattoos, even when I had the blackouts done on my fingers. When you're saturating hand skin, especially if you have dry hands like I do, the ink tends to get in all the creases, and then it's hard to see what's actually saturated until you can, heal that and shed that top layer of skin. And that's why it's almost impossible to do full saturation one pass hand tattoo and have it perfect. You can like what you got from it, but to have it actually be perfectly solid in all places is very rare in one pass. Now, if you're just doing some like soft shading, line style, whatever, that's definitely doable. But if you're doing anything like black work on your hands, you will need more than one pass, almost certainly. And anyone who's telling you that you won't is almost certainly lying to you. Unless they've got a fucking magic wand up their ass they're about to perform this miracle with, I wouldn't trust them to say, if it cost me anything to do it, I wouldn't trust them. I would always imagine it's going to take more than one, and probably more than two. Now, with that said, I'll get into finally what I had done, because I'm sure people want to see. So we got this big chunk done here, and it went in really, really well. Now, when I asked Rick how the skin was, he said it was dog shit. It was rubber, his own words. But that wasn't because of my scar tissue. There's actually not much scar tissue in there, apparently, and it took really well. So scar tissue doesn't tend to saturate great. It's just that this section on the arm to do full color for most people sucks. It's not the best place to saturate for any full color project. So Rick was pretty surprised that it took this well. And we did about 2.5 hours in there, believe it or not. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of different colors. Like I've said before, to build in these tones, it's multiple colors on top of multiple colors. You don't just start with those tones. It's more of a gradual build-up. Everything that Rick does is like, whenever he sets up, he's got something like 30 ink caps. I think the most ink caps I ever seen Rick going with was like 55 on some dragon wrap that he was doing on dude. And it's like there's a real art to that, when you've got that many colors on the go, even just recognizing which ones are which, when there's some that look very similar, is mind-boggling. But I guess when you do it every day, and if Rick was in his happy place, he'd be doing full color tattoos every day, and you become very proficient, and you know your tones really well, and you know how they mix together, and you just kind of ride it out, Interestingly, though, Not that it really mattered, but the first set of lines that we did on this hand tattoo, some of the lines were run with, I think, dark purple. And even when I seen it when I was healing, I was like, it doesn't fucking matter because everything in here is going to get done, multiple times anyway. So whatever trace of that purple will be gone before long. But it was a funny little anecdote. And I have all kinds of those little things happen during sessions so that would normally probably really concern someone who is only going to be, planning on getting their hand tattooed this one time. And what's going to happen now? That line is purple. Oh my God. It's like tattooing is never going to be, like as long as it's someone putting ink into your skin, and our bodies are always going to be funny with how they metabolize things over the years. Like it's never a guaranteed product like buying a shirt off the wall would be. So my thing is always like, it's not like you can't repair that later. If something goes wrong, it's not like you can't fix it. So this kind of thing doesn't really upset or concern me, and it never really did. Because even when I was getting my first bodysuit done, it was always like, oh well, you can fix that later. I never like started hearing like things like, oh, you can only tattoo a certain area so many times until I got onto social media. Like that was never really a voice in my head or a voice in any of the artists around me. Like I'd never really heard that logic, but I've heard some very high level tattooers spout things like you can only tattoo someone 3 times before they're full of scar tissue or their skin is fully saturated, whatever the fuck that means. Like the idea that our skin is like there's like a cup, and once it gets full, you can't put any more ink in there. I've had like things like that said to me where I'm just like, that's not true at all. There's absolutely no evidence of that. And what are you basing that on? Because as far as what I can see is, it's more like, you have a certain amount of ink there always, and a certain amount of it will kind of break down, or it'll all mix, or something will happen. Like to say, like if you have a certain amount of black in your skin and you put a certain amount of white in there, eventually the balance shifts to be more light than dark, and then you see the white there, right? It's not like, oh nope, like there's a sign that says we're not taking any more ink today. That we've had enough ink. Like they just put a sign up or something in that area of your body where it's like, you can't get tattooed there anymore. Sorry. Nothing like that happens. In my experience, it's like as long as the work is done, fairly correctly, it will always take more. So, food for thought on that. With that said, I was supposed to be having another session this week with Terry, but he's got to go to Calgary. He's got some errands to run or some fucking thing. Not a big deal. I was a little apprehensive on this session anyway, so I've been hemming and hawing about what I'm gonna do next with this sleeve, and I have the plan obviously, but I'm still not 100% sure I want to commit to it anyway. So another week to think about it isn't really a bad thing, and like, because so many people probably think that I'm spontaneous and I'm just jumping into these things without any forethought at all. That's not the case. It's never been the case. I probably think about my next move, generally like 6 months in advance. I'll have, my next 40 sessions laid out. It's never really the case that I just go, I'm just going to do this because fuck YOLO, you only live once. It's never like that. I've been thinking about this next move on my sleeve for a long time. I've even been talking about it now for a long time on this channel. And so it will be no surprise when something happens. But, whatever the case, I'm still not exactly sure I want to commit to dramatically altering the roses, say, on this sleeve. Because if I do that, then you have to carry that out everywhere. So it is a heavy weight on my mind currently, is like, do I want to do that or not? And I do think I will. It's it's good to weigh the pros and cons of any big decision in your life, and this is not a large one, but not a small one. So it is what it is. The next session I have with Rick will be heading down. I think there's some stuff going on through here that has to be done. There's going to be one more tentacle built in all this craziness. There's some spaces here that are lined. This whole thing here is a tentacle. So it just needs its tips done. And then there's a few spots where there'll be red in between. Like here, there'll be some more red. And then this is going to be eventually redded out as well. The same red velvet that will, cradle the sleeve here and the teeth. And then far down the road, like we've done with the spider webs on, this stuff here, we'll be doing silhouettes of tentacles over the red. So it'll kind of be like they're weaving in behind the sleeve. It's a little bit difficult to explain what I mean by that, but I have a direction. Just trust me. By now I should have earned a little bit of faith, but I probably haven't. It's hard to say. Could be the case that some people will trust my vision a little more than others. Some people have been watching longer. I have some people who have been watching since the very first couple YouTube videos still. Somehow they've gotten through all of my bullshit over the years and they're still supporting me. And then I have new people finding the channel every day that have no idea I ever even had blackout tattoos or a first suit before that. And it's come so far by now that it seems crazy to me that it's not even farther though. Like in a way I feel like I should be closer to where I'm going, but I'm in the sense that you would think that I would be done by now, and I've reached multiple points of conclusion along the way that quite frankly just weren't satisfying enough, or they weren't quite what I wanted yet. And I do think that there is an end goal to all this. I think that it's still a ways off. I don't think it's like this never-ending project in reality. I think once I get my back piece done and my sleeve is finished, I've got a few more modifications on my torso to make. I think that I'll probably just pick away at my legs. I don't think that that'll be the project that all of this has been. I don't think I'll spend nearly as long hammering that out. So I think it'll just be more or less one-offs. I plan on having my wife tattoo me this year and another of the shop apprentices tattooing me as well. So using my body as more of a canvas for artists to learn to work on black is in my future. I think all of the people who come through this shop are going to be, it's almost like curriculum at some point. Like, you got to learn how to tattoo over black because that's what this shop is becoming known for. So I think that is going to be the direction for my legs going down the road. I do have obviously some ideas for some pictures that I would like on my legs, but they're largely going to be, a science-based thing more than an artistic thing. And I think that's a really hard pill for a lot of people to swallow because they like to think of tattoos as nothing but pretty pictures, not unlike you'd hang on the wall. But that's definitely not the way that I've come to know them or the way that I see them. Anyway, I'll show this off one more time up here. And sleeve is nearly done in its entire stretch. Again, this area here is saturated. This fucking yellow from this callus on my elbow drives me nuts, even though it's been done a million times. I don't know if I'll ever get rid of that yellow shine. It just is what it is. It's annoying, but yeah, we got more of the tentacle here to do. Comes out through here and down through here. And once we get that chunk in, finally on 37 sessions, we're just about done this sleeve the first time. So, as crazy as that sounds, it's true. Anyway, I'll talk to you guys again soon. Have a great day.